Hello everybody, welcome to another video, and today we are doing another reaction. That was the fastest intro I've ever done. I didn't really want to do another reaction, I won't lie. I wanted to post a better video, like an actually good one. Uh, but I'm having some editor and video troubles, so this is what you're gonna get. But this time, instead of normal, it's animated videos from Llama Arts. I saw one of their videos last episode, so I wanted to do just theirs this time. The first one is A Disturbing True Snapchat Story 2 Animated, so let's go. I don't know if the quality is going to be better because I did something on OBS, but let's just hope.
This is a short but terrifying story of something that happened when I was Snapchatting a friend. I'm pretty young, I'm only 13,
Cool.
still in middle school. A girl I really liked had just recently started snapping me selfie pictures, and we started messaging each other for a few nights.
Pickle sandwich.
One night when I was watching TV, she sent me a snap of herself laying in her bed without a caption. I sent a message saying what's up. She sent another identical picture, this time with a caption saying, "Not much, you?" She set the timer to 10 seconds, so it gave me plenty of time to analyze the picture, including her bedroom in the background, and the dark outline of a person standing by her window.
Ew.
I quickly sent a response message, saying, "Is that your brother by the window?" She sent another identical snap,
Good one.
this time captioned, "What do you mean?" In this picture, the figure at the window was closer, and I could see a hand pressed up against the glass.
It's like Voldemort.
I closed the snap before the timer even ran out so I could tell her quicker. I said, "There's somebody at your window, turn around." She opened my snap almost immediately, and then I didn't hear from her again on the app. I grew more and more worried as the minutes passed. I texted her a few times to no avail. I tried calling her a few times to no avail as well. I didn't know her house phone number, otherwise I would have called her parents. It wasn't until midnight when I was already laying in bed that she finally texted me back. She explained the whole situation. As soon as she looked at her window and saw the person standing there, she screamed, and that caused the person, who turned out to be a 20-something-year-old man, to open the window and jump into the room. From there, she ran to her parents' room and woke her dad, who went to her room to find nothing but an open window. It wasn't exactly a personal story of mine, but it freaks me out nonetheless, knowing that the only thing that saved my friend from whatever could have happened was the fact that I was able to see the window through her selfies, unbeknownst to the creeper at her window.
Okay. Won't lie. That last video was it was okay. Not a lot of crazy stuff, you know. I mean, obviously, since that's real, it's scarier than if it's like a monster, because that's obviously not real. But next one is a creepy ghost hunting story animated, which is longer, so it might be the coolest. But the next one is the longest, so let's just go. Ooh, cool animation.
This happened about 5 years ago when I was 21. Me and my friend Seth got into this app which showed you ghosts.
I did one of those.
We'd go out ghost hunting, but
definitely not real.
Nothing much would happen. Sometimes a dot would appear on one of our phones and it would say random words. We would ask, "How did you die?" and stuff like that. And sometimes the answers lined up, but it was mostly random. One night, around 2 a.m., Seth suggested going to the cemetery to see if the app picked anything up.
Bad idea.
I was hesitant, but I nervously agreed. We started making our way through the neighborhood towards the cemetery. It was weird as the streets are normally lined with cars, but they were empty on this night. We walked down the middle of the road with the app running, but it wasn't picking anything up. We finally made it to the cemetery,
Ghost Radar.
which was a small, family-owned one where they only buried their own.
Ooh, that's
Seth
messed
went
up.
up to the gate and started shouting, hoping to get a response on the app, but nothing happened. I was standing in the road, feeling unsettled, when Seth starts yelling, "Is that all you've got?"
Yeah, that's
I told
just
him to
messed up.
stop disrespecting the dead and we should leave.
Yep.
He tried being
Gotta go.
funny, saying, "Oh, I'll make him show up."
That's
And
crazy.
jumped the gate and started stomping on the graves while screaming,
That's
"Come
wrong.
on, show us something." All of a sudden, our phone said something at the same time. I looked down at my phone and it was there. We both
Yeah,
just
I
stood
would.
there, looking at each other, when 10 or so red dots appeared on the radar, and it said it again. When I looked back up from my phone, Seth was next to me. I said, "We have got to go." As soon as I said that, we could hear the street lights turning off one by one from the top of the street, getting closer to us. We took off running as fast as we could. We got about halfway into the neighborhood before running out of breath and having to stop. I felt like I was going to throw up from being scared and winded. Then I heard my phone say something. It was muffled, but I knew what it said. Being
His
too
name.
scared to look at my phone, I looked at Seth, who looked terrified. He nodded at me to get my phone out, so I slowly pulled it out, and it said my name across
Llama.
the top.
Not
I
a
turned my
pre-watch.
phone off and said, "Screw this, I'm done." We made
Same.
our
I
way
would've
back
done
to
that.
my house and
I
had a
wouldn't have did it in the
cigarette to
first
calm
place.
down. We were talking about what just happened, almost not
Up.
believing it,
I gotta take a
when
smoke
I heard
break.
my phone again. This time it was my sister's name. We
Ooh.
just stood there, frozen, not saying a word, when it went off again and said my brother's name. I took my phone out, turned it on, and
Heck
deleted the
no.
app. I asked Seth to stay the night, but he refused.
Ugh.
I can't blame him.
Hey, you can't. What an L friend.
When I finally got to sleep that night, I dreamt a muffled voice repeating a word over and over. I started to wake up and the words became clearer. My phone was off, with the battery out. But when I turned it over, it was lit up with the app running. It had a red dot about 6 feet from me, still repeating.
No, 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 no. I'm gonna cover my eyes. I'm gonna close my eyes and close my ears. Oh, okay.
I woke up
scared.
the next morning and went to the bathroom. I had a razor-thin cut from my
Ooh.
left shoulder to my
Wow,
right hip.
you got your
I
organs
don't know
harvested.
what happened that night, and nothing has happened to me since. Needless to say, I don't mess with that kind of stuff anymore.
Now, I have high hopes for this video because it's 10 minutes long and it's called The Roommate Animated. So I have high hopes for this one.
This video
I
is
think-
sponsored by NordVPN. More details at the end.
Okay, I think this video might actually be really good. It's the longest one. The last one
Looking for
was
a
pretty
new
good.
roommate is always a daunting task. Even though you interview and take the time to get to know that person, you don't truly find out who they are until you start living with them. I had begun searching for a roommate after I decided to leave my current residency. I was contacted a couple of hours after placing an ad on the Facebook Marketplace. The message read,
Hey Chris, I'll be moving out of my current
Ew, that's
apartment this
creepy.
August and I'm looking to room with someone new, as my roommates are moving to California this year. I'm 27 and I'm currently going to school. When I'm not at school, I enjoy hiking and watching movies. I also apprentice at a taxidermy shop on the days I don't have class.
Ew.
Hope that's not weird. It's always
It
been
is.
a fun hobby of mine. Anyway, I'm looking forward to hearing back from you. Have a great day, Lunaire.
You won't.
My first and most obvious reaction after reading the message was to check her
Taxidermy.
profile.
Oh,
She
okay,
was
no.
a medium height, had long,
What's
messy
up?
blonde hair and green eyes.
Like Simon from Alvin and
In
the
her
Chipmunks.
profile picture, I saw her standing with a man and a woman shoulder to shoulder. They each adorned goofy grins and held up peace signs. Under the photo, the caption read, "Love my roommates." I smiled to myself and decided to send her a message back.
What
The
up,
sun
neighbor
beat
lady?
down on us as we hoisted various
in
objects
with
to
her.
the second floor of our new
Oh,
apartment.
okay.
It
Bad
took us a
idea.
couple days to get everything out of the
What did the
various
boxes say?
objects to
What
the
did the
second
boxes
floor
say?
of our
Kitchen. Something's room. Lunaire's room. Who's that then?
new apartment.
I don't know.
It took us a couple days to get everything out of the moving trucks and into our new place, but as soon as we did, a wave of relief washed over our sweat-drenched and sore bodies. After a couple more hours of rearranging, we each grabbed a beer from the fridge and
Llama Art sells these on their store. I want to buy one.
sat on the porch.
It
We
says
reminisced
definitely
about
not
old
does.
90s cartoons and what video games we obsessed over as kids. And as the sun started to set, I truly felt relaxed and confident
Feel a
that
romance
things were going
coming
to work
on.
out. A week later, I started a new job for a construction company that was owned by a good friend of mine. As I was getting ready, I heard the front door swing open. I walked into the living room to see Lunaire and her friend David sliding in a large box. "What you got there?" I asked. Through a strained grunt, she replied,
I bought a freezer to store some of the animals I'm planning on using in my taxidermy work. I hope that's alright.
No.
I was obviously hesitant at first, as there was no mention of this happening in the first place, but I eventually accepted and returned to my room to continue getting ready for work. I came home at around 9 p.m. after having a couple of beers with friends and noticed that the freezer was nestled snugly in the lower part of the pantry. A low hum could be heard reverberating off of
That's
the
a good
inner
spot, though.
walls. I was curious to see what was inside, but didn't want to intrude on Lunaire's business, so I went into my room and changed into more comfortable clothing. After changing, I came back out into the kitchen and started making a sandwich. I opened the fridge and grabbed what I needed. As I turned around, I stubbed my toe on the edge of the island countertop and let out a long, exasperated grunt. Through
And a
my
lot of swear words,
frustration,
probably.
I slammed the fridge door shut and checked my toe to see if there was any bleeding. As I raised my head back up, I was greeted by a shadowy figure. Lunaire was standing in the doorway leading to her room. The darkness
She just
behind
runs
her
at you with a
almost
shiv.
seemed to envelop her.
Is everything okay?
I don't like her voice.
She said in a deadpan tone. "Shit, yeah, I'm sorry.
Whoa,
I
language,
just
bud.
slammed my toe into the corner of the countertop as I was making a sandwich. I hope I didn't wake you,"
It's fine.
she said in the same deflated tone as before. She then turned around and walked back into the darkness of her room.
Okay.
I could tell that she was pissed, so I quietly made my
Why?
sandwich and retreated back to my room as well, only hearing the low hum from the freezer as I closed my door.
Why does he keep mentioning the freezer?
I had the next day off, so I was able to sleep in a little longer than usual. When I finally emerged from my room, I walked into the kitchen to make breakfast. As I opened the refrigerator, I noticed that the light wasn't turning on and there was a lack of cold air escaping from inside. I turned around and flipped the light switch to confirm my suspicion. Sure enough, the power was out.
Oh.
"Damn it," I muttered under my breath. I walked over to Lunaire's room and knocked on her door to tell her about the power outage if she didn't already know, but there was no answer. I then remembered that she had classes that day and probably wasn't home.
That makes sense.
I walked back to the kitchen and past the pantry.
Why you got a lock on your freezer? I don't think that's normal.
As I did, I slipped on the floor but was able to catch myself on the countertop. "What the?" I angrily exclaimed as I looked down at the floor trying to figure out what I had slipped on. It was
Ew.
blood. It had started to leak from the corner of the freezer and pool onto the floor. I quickly tried to open the freezer
was a
to
body
find
on
out
the
the
floor.
cause of the viscous liquid, but then I noticed that it had a padlock attached to it. I don't remember seeing that before. I ran out to my car and grabbed my toolbox from the back seat. I approached the freezer
Let's
and
lockpick
set my
this
tools down
freezer.
on the nearby countertop. I then pulled out a small pair of bolt cutters and snapped through the metal of the padlock. It fell to the ground with a large thud. I creaked open the top of the freezer and was greeted with a putrid stench that permeated my nostrils. I quickly pinched
dead
my
animal.
nose and walked away gagging in response. "I guess I should have realized that was gonna happen," I muttered to myself in between gags. After gaining my composure, I grabbed some gloves from under the sink and started taking inventory. I could see a couple of dead birds
tired.
in plastic bags wedged into the corners of the freezer. I took each bag out and set them in the trash can nearby.
Whoa, why?
That's when I noticed that the
'Cause
blood
they
was
stink.
coming from the corner of the larger black bag. I don't know why, but I decided to open the top of the bag and peer inside. I was greeted by large, milky
my
white
God.
eyes, a swollen black tongue surrounded by cracked and
my
bloated
God.
lips,
I might have to
and the
blur
matted
this.
hair of a human head. I swiftly dropped the bag and fell backwards onto the floor. My breathing had ceased to exist.
Might
and
be
I
an
grabbed
animation,
the
but
trash
still,
can
I
next
don't-
to me and
ooh.
expelled my
Still
disgust
gonna have to blur
into
that.
it.
I don't want to get any strikes or anything.
I then ran out the door, got into my car, and called the police. As I sat in the interrogation room with a blanket over my shoulders, I couldn't help but think about the face I'd seen. It looked so familiar.
The girl in the photo.
That's when it finally hit me. I pulled out my phone and looked at Lunaire's profile picture.
Yeah.
It was her old roommate.
But what about the
The
dude?
one she said was
I don't
moving
wanna
to
know, actually.
California. When the detective entered the room, she started the questioning process, asking me if I started noticing any weird behavioral occurrences around the apartment. Yeah, I stubbed my toe the other day and she creepily stood in the doorway. It seemed like she was pissed, but for some reason I had a strange feeling like she was concerned about something.
Mm.
That's when I connected the dots. She didn't come out into the kitchen because she heard me stub my toe. She came out into the kitchen because she thought I slammed the freezer instead of the fridge. A cold sweat started to form on my forehead as my surroundings became blurred. I could hear a low whine slowly starting to cover up the words of concern from the detective. As my vision started to clear, I could see another officer enter the room and whisper something into her ear as he handed her a piece of paper. "Do you have somewhere you could stay at?" she asked. I mean, I was planning on staying with my parents. They live about 30 minutes outside of town. Okay, she paused. Listen, I don't want to worry you, but we found this picture inside of your apartment. She slid the piece of paper across the table, and I immediately felt like someone kicked me in the chest. The head of Lunaire's other
Oh my
roommate sat on
god.
the chair.
Oh, there's the other roommate.
In the background, scrawled on the wall in blood, read, "Love my roommates. All of them."
Okay. Is this an ad? Yeah, it's an ad. I don't know if I don't know if I can. I'm gonna blur that just to be safe. I don't know. That was definitely the coolest one of the three. Definitely, my favorite. Scariest as well. And I'm gonna set a crazy goal. Llama Arts sells a Llama Art plushie. If this video gets 1K likes, I will buy it. That's it. I will buy it. It probably won't, but any likes, any subs, any views, all of it, would love it. So